Hey, what's up, guys? NullRage here, and I was playing Marvel Heroes tonight, and I realized this is actually the perfect opportunity, what I was doing right now, to talk about something that I haven't talked about yet, and that is the crafting changes that came through in the Marvel Heroes 2016 update, the patch that brought in the changes for the guy that I'm on right now, Deadpool. Also brought in a few of the crafting changes, and then I think the next week there was some more crafting changes. But anyway, the biggest thing that I noticed with the crafting changes is okay. Actually, there's a few things that you notice right off the bat. First off, the crafting autofills any of the needed what do you call these, essence genomes, astral essences, the crafting materials. First off, there are no longer tiers of crafting materials. That is great. There's only one tier, so regardless of what level you're playing at, you're going to get high quality materials that you can use on all of your characters. That's awesome. I love that. It also clears up a whole bunch of space. That's amazing. And you don't have to split elements anymore. That one minor change there, making there only one tier of elements, made crafting affixes and everything else so much easier. Then the next thing is the fact that it autofills, right? So any of the needed requirements, you can see the ionic particles that I need for this offensive affix, it autofills that, and that happens throughout the crafting menu here. I think there's a few things like the enchanter. One thing that I've noticed for the enchanter is River of Soul doesn't fill some of the runes, like this one. The lake rune does not get automatically filled in River of Soul. Now that's a bug, and eventually that'll get worked out. So there's little minor things like that, like tier runes don't automatically get thrown into Heartbreaker, but that might be a good thing. You might not want to spend your tier runes due to their rarity, so I guess I can understand how some of the rarer runes shouldn't get autofilled. But then on the other hand, if I go over here to the crafter,
might have something for you.
it autofills the Surtur rune needed for Fragment of Twilight. So maybe I don't know. It's a little weird deciding whether everything should be autofilled or not. Maybe don't autofill on some of the rare materials like the tier rune, which is incredibly rare, and all that jazz. In fact, it might not be autofilling the tier rune simply because I don't have them. I know the lake rune on the, what do you call it, on the River of Soul is not autofilling, but I know for a fact that I have them because they're right there. So I don't know if that's a bug that's with several runes across the system. I'm getting sidetracked here, guys. I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, the next thing that came in the crafting update is the affixes that I was working on right now. It is a lot easier to put affixes on your costume. In fact, that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm trying to roll these grade affixes for getting crit damage. Crit damage is what I want for these affixes. Let's just go ahead and roll this right now. And you can see I did not get the crit damage that I wanted on that grade 2. But instead of having to go find all of the materials and throw them back into the crafting thing, again, I can just click this button down here, craft again. And I can easily see what I did roll right there in the menu as well without having to pull it back over here, because usually you had to pull it back over here, you had to throw it back in, and it was just very, very annoying. But I can just hit this button. Hey, look, damage rating. Alright, hit it again. Attack speed, don't want that. I want crit damage. And eventually I'm going to run out of materials, I'm sure. Because that is one thing. Once you get into this crafting trying to get the perfect rolls that you want, you will run out of materials pretty quickly. I want to save some materials, so I'll re-roll that later. One thing that I want to hit on before I run out of materials, though, is the next thing down here, which allows you to re-roll costume affix value. This means that, let's say my grade 4 there. Now the grade 4 I've got on my costume is only 20% of the roll that I could get for that slot. It's not a very good roll. Usually anything below 1300 on crit damage, I try to roll that up for sure, because that is just, that's really low, and you've got a large chance to get something better. Even before the ability to do what I'm doing right here, I'd always try to reroll those and get at least over 1300. But generally, you want 1600 or above. You're good. All right, so let's go ahead and use this right here, which is the reroll costume affix value, and we'll keep the crit damage roll that I've got on there on my grade 4 and just reroll the amount. There we go, 1339. 1364. I'm getting really bad rolls right now. Oh my god. Alright, there's 1421. Should we go any higher? Should we risk it? Should we risk it? We've got a few materials less. Let's go a little bit higher. There we go. I'm going to stick with that, with the 1589 right there. And eventually I'll re-roll those grade 2s and 3s, but I think I'm going to have to go farm up some more materials because you can see I'm getting pretty low on the ionic particles and the nanotech filaments. So that's just a few of the things that have changed in the crafting overhaul. I'm sure there are a lot more things that I am forgetting. I think one of the major things is, well, the autofill makes it easier to craft just about anything. A lot of the requirements, the costs for some crafting things, for instance, adding costume affixes to your costume core now only requires the costume core and the amount of money needed for it. It doesn't actually list a price, but if you put the costume core in there, maybe it tells you how much it costs. Maybe it doesn't cost anything. I'm not 100% sure right now. I've got to get a better core on that Deadpool, so I'll find out later. But there's a number of things, so many things have changed with this crafting system that I can't begin to go over each and every one of them. But those are the major things. And oh yes, and this thing right here, the what do you call this? The Bloodstone Demon Bands. I've actually been saving up a bunch of these because if you can get them to roll correctly, they are one of the best in slot rings available for just about every character, because they can do things like this with strength and fighting, and then something else on here. This is actually a pretty well rolled one because it's physical damage, strength, fighting, durability, and defense. That's pretty excellent right there, actually. Now there's a few. Most of these are pretty bad. I think this one was just waiting for somebody to put it on. But these items, due to the ability to roll raw attributes, which means 4% damage at all times for each one of those that you can roll, meaning 8% from getting both of those, and then of course the physical damage on top of that, they're a pretty great way to increase your damage output. They don't quite measure up to Midtown Signet's Guardian or Midtown Guardian Signet if you're able to use movement powers all the time. That one's pretty great for movement characters, but not everybody able to use movement powers. But they definitely beat out the Industry City Signet in many situations if you can get them to roll correctly. But the hardest thing about these rings is the fact that they are incredibly random in the amount that they can roll. They've got so many possibilities on stats that they can roll, and then you've got to get all of those stats together to have a good ring. So you get a lot of bad rings. This one, for instance, not great. I mean, Summit Ally Health, I don't even want that. So, I'd roll that and a few of these others into something better and try and get something like this one right here with all the stats that line up together and could be good for certain characters. Alright, I think that's all the major things that I should probably cover. I'm probably forgetting a few things in this crafting overhaul. It was a massive undertaking. One of the major things that I'd like to see is just for this menu to be a bit easier to use. Scrolling through this giant list of different patterns is a little bit tedious for me, mostly because I lose my place easily and I forget where things are all the time. So, I'd like to see this whole UI cleaned up a bit so it's a bit easier to read, easier to find the things I want. Now, once you get in the pattern, once you have used some of these patterns several times, you sort of know where they're at, and you can just go find them easily. But for new players, I'm sure it's difficult to find what you're looking for specifically. So I'd like to see that cleaned up just a little bit. And other than that, crafting is a whole lot easier than it used to be, and I'm I'm pretty happy about that. All right, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the crafting update. I will see you in the next video. I'm gearing up my Deadpool right now to take on the Hightown Patrol, and I may eventually move him into Cosmic Hightown and do some of that. That's sort of what I'm doing right now. So I'll let you know how that goes, and I'll see you there. Until then, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.